Takes 31 iron to make an anvil in Minecraft.
Okay.
Now we're all synced.
Awesome.
Are you? You better not be playing Minecraft again.
I'm not playing Minecraft.
I don't believe you.
He does this thing every time we record. He's like doing something else normally, and you'll hear sometimes in the background just like some very quiet key clacks, and you'll be playing Minecraft.
Full transparency. I think it was like 2 recording sessions ago. Like when I wasn't talking, I was like literally on the bench doing like flies.
What?
Dude!
That's hype. Wait, that's hype.
Because I didn't work out in the morning. It's never a bad time to do flies.
It's always grind time with Marco.
So welcome to the Rat Run podcast. And today we have a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Leonard Kraft. I go by DaWoblefet online. I do a lot of mechanics research, which is very fun and very rewarding. I love working with mechanics on Showdown, especially. I don't do a ton of implementation, but I do a lot of bug report management. So if stuff goes wrong on Showdown, usually I'm going to be the one getting it to the devs to get it worked out. I'm also a VGC player. I've been playing since 2013. I've got a few regional and national top cuts under my belt. As well, the most recent Players Cup, I guess not the most recent because there's the Champion Players Cup, but in Players Cup 4, made it to the global finals of that tournament. So I've got experience in VGC play as well, and I'm happy to be on the podcast today.
Yeah,
He's
thank you for coming
also
on.
probably my favorite VGC channel, unironically. Literally, like,
your content
I don't
is
know,
really
like,
sick.
like Leonard, I know we just got you on the channel, and this is probably, I don't know, we've DM'd before, like, small things here and there, but I've never actually straight up told you, I think your content is probably, like, the only content that when I get a notification, I go, oh, hey, a video, I'm gonna watch it right now.
I think one advantage I have with that is my YouTubing skills are pretty intermittent. So whenever I post a video, maybe you're a little bit more happy to see it as opposed to somebody who makes daily content. The daily content grind is great, but if you want to actually grow your channel, you should do daily content. But for me, I just do YouTube for fun. So I hope that shows in my videos.
Yeah, and it's all like really novel concepts, and it's like, I don't know, like it's just stuff that you don't know. Like the average player won't know about like these nitpicks and like mechanics and stuff. I think you had like an entire like 20-minute video just about timer, and that was like 2017, or maybe 2018. I remember I was like at my school's dining center eating and watching that. But yeah, like what would you say is like your favorite video where you're like, people don't know anything about this, I need to tell the masses?
Oh gosh, my favorite. Oh, I didn't think about that one. I
feel like this is
one of my favorites is probably not unfortunately relevant anymore, but my video on Skydrop. I thought that was really I thought that was a really comprehensive video and had a lot of really cool stuff in it. I was pretty happy with my Dynamax video that I put out for this generation. That was also one that I put a good deal of effort into, but definitely Skydrop's my favorite. But yeah, Skydrop is gone.
I miss Skydrop so much.
I'm gonna have to watch that personally then, because coming from a like Generation 7, 6 singles player into Generation 8 VGC player, I have no idea how Skydrop works, like even remotely.
It is one of the coolest moves in my opinion, but you never know true fear until you're like sitting there at the table, you got your hand on your head, you're leaning over your DS, and you think, how much does Lunala weigh?
Yeah, Michael, a good way to describe how Skydrop's used in VGC is quash but extreme.
Yeah.
I think it's the other way around. I think it's more like fake out. It's like a reusable fake out. I mean, it's a worse fake out, but it's like fake out because you can stop the opponent from moving.
Yeah, it was great for Trick Room.
Well, I think the reason I compare it to Quash is literally, like it can interrupt a turn and stop them from moving altogether, but I always think about it as more like, look, you and I aren't doing anything for the rest of this turn with these two Pokemon, because I need to get something done with this Pokemon.
That's true, too.
My turn now.
So, my question is how it works with speed. Like, I'll ask this later on, maybe, but like, real quick, just tell me if I'm right or wrong. if it's a slower Pokemon and you're getting Sky Dropped, you pick up at the end of the turn after they've moved, so they still get their move off. On the next turn, they don't get their move off, and then they
don't
come
get
back
their
down.
move off.
That's right.
It's like how if you fly when you're slower, you'll come down the next turn. You come down like last the next turn.
That is weird.
Like,
Here's one that I always forget, forgot, I guess, in 2018, that I know, Leonard, you probably know this by heart, so that's why I'm asking you right now. Trick Room, final turn, you Sky Drop the Pokemon that goes, like, before you, right? So you Sky Drop second. When you fall first the next turn, do they still get to move, or is there, like, another interaction with that?
It depends on the speed of each Pokemon. So if you Sky Drop them first in Trick Room, and then Trick Room ends, unless it's like a speed tie or something, then they're going to fail to move again the next turn, so their turn will be effectively skipped. You'll do some damage with Sky Drop, and then your other Pokemon can attack again. So
I believe Fly works the same way.
Yeah, it would be very similar as with any 2-turn move like Fly or anything else.
Wait,
That's
I
so
did
cool.
that. Wait a minute, I did that in a tournament. I felt big brain as hell one time. I was using it was Phantom Force Dragapult next to Trick Room Dusclops, and I was like, wait, I'm the fastest thing here. I'm Phantom Forcing on my turn. No one's touching me. And then on the next turn, I'm Phantom Forcing last, so I'm gone for like a whole turn and a half.
Yeah, it's fun to just dip out with moves like that. That's why I miss like Sky Drop and stuff, because it was a very technical move. So I mean, I guess that explains why you covered it. And honestly, I think I remember watching your video after I couldn't like I had it in my head. I couldn't figure out how the move worked. And then I think I watched that and then like read the Bulbapedia description a million times. Was like, okay, now I get it.
Dude, I learned something new about a move recently, and it just broke me as like a player. I'm like, why would they apply this mechanic to this move? This is like the worst dragon move ever. Apparently, I learned this the other day, and I made a tweet about Dragon Rush has the same effect as Heavy Slam with minimized Pokemon. And I'm like, why do you make it miss then? Like it's so situational. It's like never the best dragon move.
It's a silly dragon move. Just use gravity.
If you want to know another fun mechanic with Minimize, did you know that if you had used Minimize and then you Dynamaxed, that like has used Minimized little status, if you will, goes away. So if you Dynamaxed like a Chansey or something, which would be dumb, but you could, and then after it gets out of Dynamax, if you use like Heavy Slam or like you said Dragon Rush into it, then it won't have the guaranteed sure hit accuracy on it, and it won't have the double damage on it either. So it's a cheesy way of dodging that if you're a Chansey player. Which
Does it like completely remove it even after the Dynamax, or is it just for the Dynamax turns?
It removes it after the Dynamax as well.
That's
That is
crazy.
so-
I mean, I guess you do become unsmall.
Okay, it's cool that exists. My question is, like, why? This game is so like it
Who
has so
knows?
much. It has so much depth to it. But I think to the point where there are some decisions and like that kind of thing that it's just like okay, when is that ever gonna happen? whose idea was it?
Who's Dynamaxing a Chansey?
It's gonna happen in my
have
epic
fought-
Showdown Salt compilation video, dude.
I have fought I've fought at least 2 Dynamaxed Blissies. It was an experience.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I mean, Dynamax Blissey is a little bit more understandable. Not like obviously like, you know, Blissey Dynamax bad, but like it's more understandable than Chansey because it at least has an offensive stat.
Me when I want to have
Yeah.
1,000 HP.
And I wanted to ask DaWoblefet, because we're talking about all of these like weird mechanics. How did you get into like researching all these deep mechanics? Like, I assume you're interested in it because you make YouTube content about it and you work for Showdown on that stuff. So like, how did like you see something and it got you interested, or like how did that happen?
A couple things I'd say. When I first started VGC Play, this is back in Generation 5, and I was very focused at the time on Eevee spreads. This was something that I found very fascinating. Just the optimizing numbers with it was very fun for me. I also, around that time in Generation 5, if you remember then, RNG manipulation was a big thing too. For example, breeding or catching legendaries, that was very important for having a good VGC team back then, because it's not like nowadays where you can just battle cap your mons or
Mint it.
mint or just
Yeah.
hack them in directly. I mean, like,
Mhm.
I mean, there's nothing like that that was available back then that was reliable and consistent.
God bless quality of life.
Yeah. So, so some of those folks that were involved in those Eevee spread stuff, and with the RNG stuff, were also involved in battle mechanic stuff. A couple people that come to mind are Cathotics and Omega Donut. If you remember, there was a tool back in the day, way back in the day, called PokeCheck, and it was good. It was a blessing and a curse for some things. You could use it to view battle videos online, so you didn't actually have to boot out your DS to look at a battle video.
Wait,
You
that's
could
awesome.
actually load it. You could load it up, and it would look like a Showdown replay, and then you could watch the battle that way. It was really cool, and so that kind of stuff got me involved in mechanics. Also, as I started to practice more on Showdown, you especially back in Generation 6 and before, double support was very poor. So if there was a mechanic that was buggy in VGC, good luck getting that fixed. If it's an OU, that's fine.
Oh,
yeah,
you're fine,
that'll get patched in a flash, no problem there. But for VGC stuff, it was just a nightmare trying to get, if you're practicing on Showdown. So I sort of just kind of learned as I went, and in culmination with Eevee spread stuff, I started looking into the damage formula, and the damage formula has a ton of mechanics in it. It's just chock full. You can't understand the damage formula without understanding a ton of mechanics in the game. And even still today, we're learning new things about the damage formula. We learned just recently, probably one of the most recent discoveries we had about it, was that a Pokemon's damage can depend based on the speed of the Pokemon involved. That's a really niche one. It's not implemented anywhere, as far as I know. Not on Showdown, not in the damage calculators. Not implemented anywhere.
So basically,
So
it gets way more broken than it already is. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is our damage calculators have an issue.
Our damage
no.
calculators have lots of issues,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Showdown's damage calculator also has lots of issues. Partially, this is just because the way to actually implement it correctly would be, like, massively difficult. And also, there's, like, probably me and a couple other researchers that can even, like, adequately describe it, much less people to implement it. It's complex stuff. We learned a ton from when a leak of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon happened. This was around the time of the Crown Tundra DLC. The source code of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was leaked. When that was leaked, that's a huge deal because we went through a ton of discoveries have been made just through that source code leak. Things related to the damage formula being one. Another popular one that was discovered was the toxic sure hit glitch, where if you use toxic with a poison type, you could actually, all of your moves would be set to sure hit accuracy. So by combining it with things like Instruct or Magic Bounce, you could do toxic to Horn Drill combination attack with Nidoking and get free Okos, which was funny. Not very good, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And so that source code leak has been a huge source of information, and there's so much to be delved through with that, and it's very complicated to go through because you have to kind of have an understanding of mechanics, you have to have an understanding of coding, you have to have an understanding of Japanese because it's
all in Japanese.
It's all in Japanese, so it's really hard to put all those things together. And there's not any one person that I know that is really strong in all of those areas. Like, I've got some coding knowledge, and I am really good at mechanics, but I don't know jack squat about Japanese. So if Google Translate can't help me, I'm out.
So what we need is a Japanese mathematician who knows Python.
Yes.
There you go. If only the games were written in Python, that'd make it a little bit easier.
Oh yeah. What are they written in? I honestly
They're written
don't know.
in C++.
Oh, that makes sense. That's like standard
okay.
for video games, isn't it?
I couldn't say, but I do know the code that they've been using for the battle engine, at least, has been around since Black and White. So,
Because I was actually I'm graduating this year with my physics degree, and one of the jobs I can apply for is actually at Rockstar Games, but I have to learn C++ because
oh,
Dang.
have fun.
they need someone to code physics engines for them.
That'd be sick, actually.
Yeah, no, I can just be like, hey guys, here's a little Easter egg. I don't know. If you press this button in GTA 27 Scrimble Blimble Edition, it activates Tailwind on your car for 3 turns.
You'll be driving around the trick room, bro. Go crazy.
Under two really quick questions. And one of these is like I feel like something that people didn't appreciate back in the day, but I had bookmarked, and I think I still have bookmarked. In Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, I forget which one, you and I think Caphotix or it was Omega Donut, made a battle code that would turn off the music in the game, but keep the battle noises. How the hell did you do that?
Oh, that's a good question. So, Omega Donut may have done this manually, but I am not so smart. So I used another tool to use it. There is a battle video editor tool out there, and you could use it to set the music, and there's like a whole bunch of different options. You could also use it to set the different backgrounds. You could, I actually messed around a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit with battle video editing in Gen 7. It's really fun. I took some of my tournament games, tweaked the RNG seed, and just kind of watched the battle collapse because the game just kind of freaked out and just like, what do I do now? Yeah, when you have that was fun. But yeah, it was basically just a simple the battle videos are we just know where the offset is in the code for a battle video for the music value. We just set that value to be the value for no music. Why it persists afterwards, I couldn't actually tell you. I'm gonna guess it's because like the no music is kind of just interrupting other stuff. It just says like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be some sort of default value. So rather than returning to the overworld music, it's just like, I guess that's not supposed to be any music here, so I'm not gonna play anything.
Yeah.
Huh. That's just wacky. Like I thought it was the coolest because as a content creator, like, oh hey, now I can add my music to the background.
Yes.
And then in Gen 8, I remember I was like, crap, there's no battle video. How am I gonna turn down the music? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, right.
It's a setting
where
now,
it should
thank
be.
God.
Yeah, it's crazy that wasn't. That's like standard for every video game ever. Like you can turn off the music, and they just didn't have it in Pokemon for some reason. And I guess the second question is, since you help out with Showdown VGC stuff, do you have any definitive answer from like the Showdown crew as to why the Gen 8 timer hasn't been implemented into like the Showdown battles?
Yes, and it's the same reason why we haven't had timer, for example, in any of the Gen 6 formats or Gen 5, because it would be too difficult to research move animation timing. When you on cart, when you use a particular attack, it's going to take a certain amount of time. The move animations aren't constant. So the move animation for Spatial Rend will be different than the move animation for Max Flare, which will be different than the move animation for Substitute. And
along with like grassy terrain and stuff.
Yeah, and these animation timings are going to vary drastically. We would have to, in a whole bunch of different situations, research like every single move in the game in, like I say, in different situations. Like for example, a good one is with some moves will take a little bit longer while Substitute is up because you have to move out of the Substitute and then come back. So there's some stuff there. It would just be a nightmare to try to do all that kind of research.
You'd have to attach extra data to every single move, and then on top of that, conditionally stuff like what you're saying, like Substitute,
exactly,
like grassy terrain, like all that.
So
it's
not a technical issue; it's a logistical issue.
Correct. Yes. If we did have the duration of all move animations, then we could.
I mean,
do it.
so hey, if someone out there want to compile that, hey, be my guest.
Yeah. But again, it's not just the duration of all move animations; it's the duration of all move animations in these different different situations. Yeah. You also have to account for things like abilities or items, how long those take to activate, how long it takes for a Pokemon to heal, the percentage of HP that it heals, like how fast does it go up or down, and those sorts of things are just really too hard. Like it's just too hard to like that would just be such a monumental task for me to do it. I would anticipate that taking like probably 3/4 of a year, if not more, just to do the research for it.
So basically, at everyone calling Showdown devs lazy or whatever the hell because they don't have X feature that you want. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, we could just slap a 20-minute timer on there altogether, but then all you're gonna do is just disable animations because on Showdown you can just turn animations off completely. And
Dear
so
Showdown devs, why can't I customize my character? Just dumb questions.
So
No,
I can actually tell you the
sense.
reason for that one too, because otherwise people would just throw porn on their
No.
Oh,
This is true.
Yeah.
That is
This
a good
is true.
point.
But anyway,
What were you gonna say, Murkiri?
So I've always wondered this. I don't know if this is because I'm out of the loop or something, or it's because we haven't spoken at all. What is actually the origin of your username, DaWoblefet? Like I've never really
DaWoblefet wobbles, duh.
like obviously it's like it's like a Wobbuffet, yeah, right? But is there anything else behind it?
so yeah, I do have a bit of a story behind this one. So in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Blue Mystery Dungeon actually, there was a little piece of mail that you could receive, and it was like a bunch of alliteration on Wobbly Wobbuffet Wanders. It was a whole bunch of W's, and I thought it was hilarious. And so when I needed to pick a username for online stuff, I was like, I'm gonna be DaWoblefet, and I had 2 B's in there at the time. But I signed up for Flipnote Studio on the Nintendo DSi, and Flipnote Studio only allowed 10 character usernames, so I had to drop one of the B's. So DaWoblefet with that. And so my headcanon for DaWoblefet is it's got a third arm. The thing you kind of see coming out of its head is actually supposed to be
So I always thought it was like a little hair flip.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
always
thought.
imagined
Yeah,
that that's what your hairstyle is or something. But I like that as a third arm.
Yep, it's an arm. It comes out of the back of its head. It doesn't really do too much because you can't really use it to grab anything. But
the thing on top of its head. Oh, I see.
You know, in a lot of like psychic mythologies, when you're enlightened, you have a third eye, but since Wobbuffet's already psychic, he just gets a third arm.
That's true.
You click counter for 3 times damage, not 2 times.
Imagine they drop a Mega Wobbuffet and it's literally just a Wobbuffet with the third arm on its head.
That would be perfect. Because isn't there like this whole thing that Wobbuffet's not actually Wobbuffet, it's the little black tail thing?
Yes.
And then
that is
canon. And then he's
I
like
love that.
he's like a kind of punching bag, like stick out this big blue thing to hide.
That's secret knowledge. You can't ask him that. He probably knows the answer.
I'm sorry.
We would just get taken down. We wouldn't be able to put this up.
No. If it's a too personal question, I completely understand. It's a bit. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Is it a medical condition? Is it like?
No.
I also am not, the face. Like I'm actually just like my pinky toe.
How do you?
The rest of me is a decoy. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
that is kind of how Wobbuffet works.
I've been trying to gaslight people into thinking I'm not like 6'4" anymore. I've been like, you know what? I've been lying to you. I'm 5'2".
I have photographic evidence.
I take every picture like from the waist pointing up.
Every picture I take, I'm on stilts. You just don't know it.
I can't wait to meet you in person, and then like you walk, and I can see your like pant leg goes up a little, and it's just wood in your shoe. It's just stilts. Like I knew it.
Me and Michael get into a physical altercation, and I push him over, and 2 people fall out. Standing on each other's shoulders.
Little do you know, I cheat at every VGC event I go to. My left pant leg has my homeboy calking in there. My right pant leg got me someone ghosting my plays.
Oh my god!
It's
all
I've never played a Pokemon game in my life. That's the secret.
That's what I imagine. Like the whole don't use a wireless controller like thing came from, which I think is really silly because I feel like it would be obvious if someone is piloting your games for you, because it would just be like someone standing like a good 5 feet away, holding a controller, looking at your screen.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah, you're not allowed to have for official tournaments because the Switch has multiple controllers. It's not like a DS.
Oh, right.
So
it does
they
have to
said,
be wired. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they say it has to be wired. It can't be wireless. And I always thought, like, why is that? Is it to prevent cheating? Is it to prevent like the controller running out of battery? I mean, the thing comes with Joy-Cons, I guess. But like, I did really like the era when that was revealed before pandemic, whatnot, and we still had regionals going on. And I think it was Datsa who brought a whole fight stick.
Yeah.
Plugged into
Well, I mean,
the Switch.
it's all, was it anything that's Nintendo licensed and plugs in directly is tournament legal. So you can not only bring the fight stick, but someone did mention that technically there are a few DDR dance pads that you could use to play the game.
Oh
And the funniest of all is the DK bongos are legal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to press A, you have to clap, and it's super unresponsive.
That's insane.
Wait, is that how do you go up and down? Is that like a?
You just press the Bongos.
I think there is a button on there.
You're just sitting there waiting for the turn to end, and you just hear.
Yeah,
clapping.
it's like, let me just. Are you done selecting your moves? No.
Hold on. It's not working.
I think my favorite controller that I would probably take to a live event is the big slime controller, the Dragon Quest
Oh,
slime.
the
Yeah,
Dragon
yeah.
Quest one. Apparently that one's like hard to hold or something.
Yeah, it's literally just the Dragon Quest slime, but like flipped over, and there's a controller on it, like with buttons and stuff. I had a person at a Smash event come to want to use it as a bit.
Oh
really
my
good.
god.
It was really
I think
funny.
the SpongeBob controllers are the funniest, to be honest.
SpongeBob?
Yeah, like
I've
the
seen
really
some of it.
giant SpongeBob GameCube controllers that are like way
Oh.
oversized.
Yeah.
Speaking of
all those,
controllers.
like, stick things. Ooh.
Speaking of controllers, back in Gen 7, it may have been Gen 6 as well, depending on, well, I guess not so much controllers, but depending on your model of 3DS, there was going to be, like, certain input delay that you would have. So, like, for example, on my new 3DS, I would be able to, like, if I just mashed A to put in my moves, I'd be able to get in 4 seconds. But if I mashed A to get in my moves on my old 3DS, it'd take 5 seconds. So, new 3DS was
So
technically
crazy.
optimal. In order to get your moves in faster for your
Was
time and
that-
stuff.
Was that like a hardware thing, like maybe like the switch on the buttons like allowed you to press faster, or was it more just like a software thing? Like there was
It might
something
have
going on in
been
there.
Can I take a guess and say it's because the new 3DS just loaded the game better because Sun
I
Moon
think
ran
it
at like
was
15
that.
frames?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was just that. Yeah, the new 3DS was its operating system just allowed you to press A faster.
The new 2DS XL was optimal for Chansey.
Oh,
Oh,
I never
no.
tested any of those fancy ones, but that would have been a good test because that one doesn't have 3D on it. So
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I have one. I think the new 2DS XL is actually like my favorite like console ever. It's such a good design console. If that was the 3DS from day one, if we never had 3D, it'd be so good. Like
Yeah.
but I think the 3D was literally just to market the console,
It's just a gimmick so they could like harder up,
and then no one used it.
and then nobody used it. Yeah.
I forget where I heard this. It might not even be true, but apparently like Pokemon didn't even want to put 3D in their games, so they just kind of shoved it in last second in a couple areas in like Oris and XY.
I wouldn't be surprised. That does make a lot of sense because I remember some areas of XY. It's like, whoa, this looks so cool. Oh, the 3D setting doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's definitely not necessary, but I do like the touch that it adds to like battles and stuff. The Mega Evolution animation looks so sick with the 3D
Yeah.
on.
Turning
does.
3D on in battles was suboptimal because your freaking DS would die and chargers weren't. Like, oh my god, I hated the DS era specifically for the whole charger thing. Like
Bro,
now,
I
like
have-
when at regionals, like you are literally on a charger. It's
mhm.
so good.
I have right now a USB DS charger plugged into me, and I did that specifically so that I could hook up a power bank to my DS. This thing takes a solid 30 seconds to just turn on.
Yeah,
She's-
and like
she's
the
holding
USB 3DS chargers are really nice. Like they're just
Mhm,
super
mhm.
super useful because if you're on the way to the tournament, you can just plug it into your car.
True!
Yeah.
I didn't even think about doing that. I would always charge it the night before, but if you forgot, yeah, just plug it in.
Yeah, no, 100%. hated 3DS era like live events because of the charges. I have a specific memory from Melbourne Regionals 2018. I think it was me. It was like a bunch of people. I think one of them was Luke Ilyu. I think that's how he pronounced his last name. The guy who got I think top 6 Players Cup for. Just like a bunch of us crammed into like this hallway because the general hall didn't have any plugs for us to charge our DSs with, and we just had like 4 people huddled around one PowerPoint with our DS charger and like sort of alternating the DS's charging.
That's really funny.
It always sucked like between rounds when all of the outlets were taken and you had to like just hope that someone like would take their DS off the charger, like, because you don't want to be that guy that moves it, you know?
Ironically, I've had more power issues with the Switch than anything. I don't know if it's like, has anyone else, have you guys noticed this? Or hey, people down in the comments, I forget this is going on YouTube, I can ask people now. Does your Switch like die instantly if you're playing it in handheld mode? I mean, I don't know how many people have gone to live events, but the ones that I did get to go to with Sword and Shield, my Switch would be dead within the 3rd round. It would just like drain so fast. And then I have other people who would play on Sword and Shield, and then it would be completely fine. So I don't know if it's a model thing, if my Switch is older, maybe.
I'm
not sure what happens.
I'm gonna be honest. I bet it's a model thing because I've never like had an issue at all with on my Switch. Like I'll go through a whole event without it dying. So.
Really?
Did you happen to get your Switch in the Mario Kart bundle?
No, I did not.
Because those ones are the older model, and I believe they're the one with like the slightly worse battery.
Yeah.
I think I got mine. I got it as a birthday gift in July of whatever year Splatoon 2 came out. I don't exactly remember, but I'm asking people, WobbleFet, have you ever had issues with the Switch charging? I mean, most people just play docked, but
Never.
Huh.
I sometimes will just casually around the house just play with my Switch undocked.
Oh yeah,
Never
I
had
prefer
any
playing undocked. I think I'm the DS. So I miss it. So I'll always play handheld mode. So but it just dies so fast. I was recently given a gift though of a Switch stand that is a charger, like it has a battery pack into it, so when you set it into the stand it charges, and that is like the coolest fucking thing ever.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's nice.
Dude, the freaking hubris of the people who designed the Switch and made it so you can't charge it and play it at the same time and like in handhold. Like that is just you know what I mean? Like cuz it can't stand.
You can't
like
put it. You can't put
tabletop.
it on the tabletop.
Yeah, I meant tabletop mode. Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, no, that's a really like bad like just design flaw in the Switch in general. Did they change that with the OLED version there?
No, they did not put the charger on the top.
They just made it bigger.
Yeah.
Before we get too far away from events, though, by the way, Leonard, I gotta ask, do you have any like crazy VGC event live stories or something like that? Because in the last guest episode we had, we went off the rails talking about just insane stories and like, you know.
Oh boy, I've got quite a few. I'm trying to think of one that would be safe to share.
Okay. You totally get to decide how off the rails we go here. That's all you.
That's a started off our stories with a bang, so I think you're fine. Whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think probably my most interesting one. It's not even like too interesting, but I remember 2018 at Earnets. I drove over there myself with a friend. It was like a 7 or 8 hour drive, something like that. So quite a while. We were going to stay. We were going to stay with 2 other people, but one of them had to bail. So we stay overnight with Chef 17, if you're familiar with that person.
Sounds familiar.
And then later on in the evening, I ended up having to be the chauffeur driving people around Columbus because they needed to go to this place or that place, and so that was fun. just like hooligans in the back of my car, just
Hooligans.
riding around as I drop them off for VGC stuff. That was a really memorable experience there. Not terribly exciting. Probably not as juicy as what the viewers want to hear.
No.
I'll save some of
I feel like stories like
so-
that is just kind of enforces sometimes it's just nice to hang out with your friends and events like these and gives you an excuse to do that.
I
I think the funnest parts of events isn't even like playing the game itself, but just seeing people.
Yeah.
Locals by far. I super love locals, and I would love to see those back, even more than I would love to see the regional level events.
Oh yeah.
Because those I have such close knit relationships now with folks that I've known for probably better part of 5 years. Hanging out. Whenever we go to regionals, we travel together. At locals, it's always competitive, and I'm one of the better players that shows up to the locals, so I have a pretty good chance of winning the event if I show up. But everybody there is always sportsmanlike, and there's no easy wins, which is always good too. And I love just eating out for supper after the Premier Challenge.
I miss
season.
that.
That's just
the
always,
little things. The little things, really.
Yeah, it's a great part of it, and that sort of social aspect is something that I've missed quite a bit over the last year and a half. And I'm hoping that TPCI still lets us do some of that stuff, COVID pending.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see. Not really anything I have control over, so I just have to wait and see the news.
I think that I think Chicago locals have like that same vibe. Everyone's super friendly, and like there are literally no free matches. Like Michael can attest to this. Like Chicago locals, they don't feel stacked because you know people there and you know how they play. So like there's no one that's like outwardly intimidating that you're like, oh, I gotta play that guy, right? But you know they're good, and it's always just like, I don't know, like it's different getting to see them face to face and playing them from like across the table.
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy. I feel like I'm the most free matchup.
No!
And that says a lot about Chicago, right? That just says like, hey, the competition level is pretty high here. Like,
I will say, California locals are fucking terrifying. SoCal players are scary. Not scary. The whole community aspect of it, shout outs to Miguel. You are awesome if you even listen to this podcast. He always buys pizza with the entry fee money, which, oh my god, save that money for yourself, but God bless you because it gets hungry. You get hungry. But like, oh, there's so many times when you get matched up with someone and you see like their name and you're like, oh god, it's kind of an intimidating feeling, but it's one that I kind of miss because it's like, I'm gonna get some great experience. I may get my ass handed to me, but maybe it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just like seeing people. I think that's the whole point of the local. It isn't even like I do well at my locals. I tend to cut.
Hell yeah.
But I looked at the results of one of the Chicago locals over the summer. That wasn't like TPCI ran or anything. It was just like
it was the friendly one.
Yeah. It was cut, and then it was us two right there with the same record. I was like,
dude, that's something I don't miss.
Dude, we both got 10th out of, and we just barely missed top 8. I was
that's something I don't miss.
I think my funniest crap. I hate the way that this game works sometimes. Story from like a local is, well, there are two. I tend to get the short end of the stick when it comes to top cut. Like if I cut, I never make it past like, I don't think I've ever like won a local. I've come close a couple of times, but like I always just somehow managed to choke it out at the end. So I think it was like the beginning of 2017, not 2017, the beginning of 2019. And I brought a Solgaleo and Kyogre team to the local, and I managed to go completely undefeated in Swiss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I top cut, but we don't have that many people there, so you only get points for top. For top 4.
Yeah.
And despite only losing one game out of like 6 that day, I got no points.
Oh.
And the other one I was happy with because I actually got to do pretty well. It was when I was on like my Indeedee Thievel thing in like Series 2.
You got second at that, right?
Yeah,
I
no, I
remember
was
that.
doing amazing. It was so good. And then I face off versus Trevor, and I found out my team hard loses to specifically Scarf Vanillux.
Oh my God,
And
Vanillux.
I'm like, that's like, I hate how this game works sometimes.
Yeah, that's something I don't miss is bubbling and stuff. It feels like when you get a good record and then you're like doing the math to figure out like what are my chances, based whatever resistance I get, how likely, how many people can get top cut if with the same record. It feels like doing the math to figure out what you need to get on your final so you pass the class.
I like to not think about it most of the time.
That's a good idea.
I do
'Cause
have
it-
another
I-
story that I thought of just now. This is
Absolutely,
kind
go
of
for it.
not a specific event, but it was over a series of events. At the start of 2017, I was known as the Eevee Guy. I used Eevee stuff with baton passing to your stored power trip mons. And so I brought that to a couple of locals, and I just destroyed everybody. Like,
Okay, let's go. Let's go,
and
Eevee.
but the thing is, after I used that, now like every single player had to have a tech move for Eevee in case I happened to bring it. And so there would always just be like random haze or random roar at our locals for 2017, just in case I brought Eevee.
Oh my God.
And it was so funny because there was one player who tried to bring Eevee. After seeing how well I had done with it, and he got just mollywopped because he faced like haze like 3 rounds in a row.
Oh my God.
And so,
I think. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, so that was a funny interaction from events.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's a very underrated part of like locals is you can prep specifically for your locals because you learn how they play, and that's a thing that I had to do because so HBC VGC Trevor Rosberg goes to our locals, or at least he used to before he moved, and he was on a big chancy kick all throughout 2017 and 2018. And I've told this story once on the podcast, but I remember I was running like this Tapu Bulu Gothitelle Mega Manectric team at the time, and on my Milotic I teched on Toxic for the Chansey matchup in case it ended up as a 1v1. Like I just Toxic the Chansey and GG. But also, Chansey teams at the time were running like Mr. Mime with Soundproof and Skill Swap to prevent like Perish Song. And like they could choose either to prep for Toxic specifically by skill swapping Magic Bounce off of Mega Sableye, or they could skill swap Soundproof to stop Perish Song, because it was very rare for a team to have both. And I went, okay, Trevor's at my local, I have both now. So I used a Haunch Crow with Perish Song, and I told him straight up, I'm like, hey Trevor, I think we're gonna be matched up at some point today. I just want to let you know that both of these things are on my team. And he just goes, I will forfeit.
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, that's crazy. Just like, nope, not even gonna bother.
I've never like put it into consideration as to who I'm gonna fight at a local prior to like prepping a team. Usually it's just like whatever I feel the most comfortable with, but that would be really funny, like to make a story out of it. I think though, and it sucks because I don't think there'll ever be a format like this that Chicago runs for a tournament again. But if there is, over the summer, Marcos, I don't think you were at this one. You were at the one.
No,
after,
I
though.
missed it because I was working a lot that summer.
Yeah, the outdoor one. I would have been the only person not using Xerneas in Top Cut had I Top Cut, and instead I ended up choking versus a Xerneas player to let him into Top Cut. So it was 4 Xerneases in cut in the Series 10.
That's
tournament.
funny.
I think it was the I forget which one. It was well into Ultra Series, right? Because like Chicago is such a tight-knit community in terms of like the locals. There was one tournament where everyone just mutually agreed, yes, we are an Ultra Series, but let's all bring 2018 teams.
That's so
and they
hype.
basically played 2018 for a PC.
That's funny.
Or that was like,
Oh, I like that a lot. That's really cool.
or that was me in 2018. I was running a fucking 2017 team the entire time. Fucking
Lele
Lele
also.
Blim Mirza.
Oh, the classic, the Murkiri Special, TM.
I love that. I missed that.
Actually, our last guest said that it was his special, so
Well, it's Murkiri Special
Okay.
now. He's not here, so.
It's mine. It's all I used to use, dude.
Leonard, what would you consider the DaWoblefet Special?
Oh,
like that thing that you just
Outside
tend
of
to
maybe-
slap on.
Outside of maybe Eevee, because that guy don't
Yeah.
exist anymore.
I was gonna say probably Chansey is something that I've trolled enough with. That,
Okay, let's go.
that's a thing. Mega Charizard Y was another thing. That was probably some of my best success in 2015 and 2018 was with Mega Charizard Y. So I don't know how many people associate that with me, but I kind of like that's one of my favorite mons to use in competitive play. So I was a huge fan of it and liked using teams with it. Otherwise, people will typically associate me with Wobbuffet, but that Pokemon is awful.
That is that Pokemon bad.
I used it 2019 in what was it? It was Moon Series when Lunala was picking up, and it was literally just Sash with Mirko, and I was like, okay, you Lunala's gone. Thank you for going for the obvious like attack onto the Wobbuffet with Moongeist Beam. Anyways, it's done.
Damn.
Goodbye.
The only way you can make it work is with Spotlight Clefairy, and if you do, then it's really fun. But it's Spotlight isn't in the game either.
Yeah, I was gonna say I find it so disappointing that Spotlight, the move with low usage all throughout its lifetime, the one generation it existed, all of a sudden would actually be not that bad in Dynamax Best of 1 because like of that, what was it? It was like Series 5, I think, when people were getting really fed up with Ally Switch.
Yeah.
Like, it would have a niche. It would have had a niche in that particular
You're right.
season.
It would also deal with like chauffeur colossal stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, because you could be like, hey,
Dude, wait.
Wait, was Spotlight priority?
Yeah, it was +3.
Yeah,
I don't know how
It's like follow me, but don't attack me. Attack this other
But
guy.
opposite.
Yeah. Wait, that would have been so
it
good.
was. It's not. They could have named They could have named Spotlight. Follow them.
Follow them.
I like that.
Look over there. Point.
Yeah,
I mean, there's after you and after me.
Yeah, the really funny thing is in German, I'm pretty sure the name for follow me is Spotlight. So, like, if you ever watch any foreign VGC matches and you're watching a German player and you see them using Spotlight and you're just like, that doesn't look like Spotlight. They're doing the waggle thing on themselves.
The waggle thing.
Oh my god. What do you think is like a tech move that is not used nearly as much as it could be?
Let's see here. I think Ally Switch is really good, and people probably should get better at it.
True.
Honestly, that's based. No, hold on, that's based. I hard agree.
I'm only not cool with Ally Switch in Best of 1. That's the only
that's
reason
valid.
I'm
It's
not
a
cool
good
with it.
move.
In Best of 3, it's whatever.
I hate it way more in Best of 3.
Really?
Yeah,
I've always been cool with it because I'm like,
fight it 3
okay,
times.
now I
Yeah,
now
but
I
what
know
if they
it
save it
exists.
for game
And-
3?
Well, that's like earned.
I
You
guess
saved
so,
it.
yeah,
You saved an important move for the final game, and it won you the game. I consider
that's
that
fair
skill.
enough. That's fair.
That's what we
Yeah,
were talking about last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Ally Switch is a really strong move, and people just kind of be like, oh, OMG 50-50, and they don't understand how it
Yeah,
works.
nah.
You understand that it switches to 2 spots, but you don't understand like how to use it properly. And I'm really bad at fighting it. I'm really, really bad at fighting it. And that to me tells me that I need to get like, because I think in order to use Ally Switch well, you have to have a really good mentality of like, okay, I can use Ally Switch, and if it works, this is really good, and if it doesn't, then it's still okay for me. If you're using Ally Switch in those sorts of situations, then I think you're going to be really far ahead, and I think Ally Switch can do that. So I think it's a strong move in that regard. I'm trying to think of other tech moves.
I think
that are
that
strong.
where Ally Switch kind of excels is as a way to not shoehorn, but like get your opponent to need to use a particular move to make it safe. Because like obviously Ally Switch is like, it doesn't really matter in the face of like spread moves. It's like the same effect as if you never used it. So you can sort of make your opponent more inclined to click a spread move, but spread moves tend to have lower damage output than like a single target overheat or something, right? So if they're running like Heat Wave or something, you can be like, okay, well, I can sort of make them more inclined to click the Heat Wave, and I know I take that a lot better in this turn, or at least in future turns. And I feel like that's like a not talked about effect that it can have on your
Ally
opponent.
Switch and Wide Guard, because that would be really funny. Probably
yeah,
with
I
like
like Moxie.
STAKATAKA or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Yes, I
fun.
think that, yeah.
Look, research.
I think honestly, because bringing up Ally Switch in terms of like, not just complaining about Ally Switch, reminds me of when I was first getting into VGC, and like before I like even like knew anybody or knew any discourse about ally switch or like how it was talked about or like how it's seen in a general atmosphere. I was like, this move looked kind of busted, right? Like I get to, because at the time I thought follow me was the most broken thing ever, right? But then I'm like, okay, but then the follow me guy's taking a hit, right? So I wish I could follow me, but still have one of my guys take the hit. And I was like, wait, that's just ally switch. Like if they're gonna like just attack across the field on both mons, right? So it's like one mon hitting one mon hitting the other mon. Ally switch, depending on like immunities or resistances, can just like completely negate that type of move. Yeah,
I think that's the reason ally switch is seen as a little bit more problematic than follow me, is because people are so used to follow me after generations and generations of it being standard and it having low distribution that where it is, what wants to run it, and that regardless of if the Pokemon uses follow me, it's taking minimum one or two hits, where ally switch has a much higher hypothetical
reward?
Like reduction in damage, like a reward for using it.
It feels like
that makes it a little bit weird.
It feels like it's got a lot of depth, and I 100% agree with Leonard here saying that it's like not really, the surface has not really been scratched
I agree
yet on
too.
there, I think.
Another strong move I think would be Encore. Encore is another really good one. It's a lot weaker with Dynamax, of course, since you can't Encore Dynamax Pokemon, but it's still like Encore punishes your opponent for playing bad, and that can be a really, really strong play, especially if you have Encore, because it's just having Encore can force your opponent into so many bad, like they have to play a certain way if you have Encore. I don't know like what would be a good mon that can take advantage of Encore.
Whimsicott.
Whimsicott's like kind of mad though, because it's just not a good Pokemon.
It wants its other
it's got very few slots syndrome.
I wonder if you could slot it on a Calyrex Shadow. I don't know how effective it would be, but I feel like Calyrex can force a lot of protects. So there may be something you can take advantage of that.
Oh, and it's also really fast,
You might just be able to, like, maybe clicking Astral Barrage is better if you're going to predict a defense, or if you're going to try to punish a defensive play. I'm not sure. But Encore is something I think could be interesting there, but most Calyrex and VGC that I've noticed tend to be Life Orb, 3 attacks, and they're not trying to mess around. Maybe like a Focus Sash or
Sub.
I've been running Scarf Calyrex.
You know what I think is
pretty silly.
That's my least favorite. Like it's my least favorite to play, and it's my least favorite to hear about. Like I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. I feel like it's not only. Well, I think I don't know. For me, Scarf Calyrex Shadow, it not only sounds bad, but I think like it's only good when your opponent doesn't know your Scarf, because all of a sudden they're like, oh, this thing can't protect. Because the information that it's Scarf with a Calyrex Shadow across the field, you're just like, oh, well, I mean, I can just hit it with something and it's going to die.
It's definitely a very best of one strategy, but I feel like just the pressure that you can output for being faster than a Regieleki without having to do anything else, it just puts me at peace of mind. That's also because I'm running
or faster.
Or with an Airstream. I'm running I'm running water types, which is why I would like to be faster than Regieleki. That's really the only reason I have it.
It's like a sash check. It's like, hey, you sash? Nope. LOL.
Two things. One of them's Regieleki based, but the first one, I think that a move that no one really talks about anymore that I think could be disgusting in a restricted format is Disable.
I've been thinking about that as well. I've honestly, like, every time I see that a Pokemon gets Disable, I'm like,
Because, like, specifically in restricted, in Dynamax too, if you can, like, protect on a Behemoth Blade and then disable Behemoth Blade on a Zacian, if you can pull that off, all of a sudden your Dynamax is just completely safe. Like there's very little it can do versus it. because a play rough will just bounce off, a sacred sword will just bounce off. Like disabling moves like
It is still a Zacian.
well, yeah, I mean obviously, it's still Zacian, but now it's not ignoring the fact that your HP doubled.
Yeah.
So like I think
know
that's a
what you mean.
really
you
big
take
factor,
away the
but-
really egregious restricted move like Water Spout, Behemoth Blade.
you
Astral
take
Mirage.
away
Yeah,
the move, like because restricteds have.
I feel like
the move.
it would really only be useful in a situation where they only have 2 left and they can't switch out. And then I think
You know what? I could see that really being really good versus Groudon. Because that motherfucker runs
just
2
P-blades.
moves.
It's like, congratulations. Would you like to click Protect or Rock Slide?
Yeah.
you have 2 options. Yeah.
And then they bust out Earthquake. Like, what are you doing?
I
That
think
is
disable,
another-
though. I also would say like disable forces your opponent to click a specific move. Like for example, if you protect trying to bait them into disable, and they just don't pick the move you're hoping to disable, then all of a sudden, now they get to actually attack with that move, and you didn't get a chance to. So I feel like disable is more like it's kind of like Encore, where it forces your opponent not to click certain moves, but also it's unlike Encore in the sense that, like, even though I can disable Behemoth Blade, on that same turn, they still could attack. With a different move.
It's a little bit more tricky to pull off, I'd say. That's why I've never tried it.
I think my favorite thing I've ever done with Disable is, I think it was 2018. I had like a Disable Gengar or something, and I faced a Taunt Incineroar, and it was trying to go for a taunt on my STAKATAKA to prevent me from getting off Trick Room. And I ended up leading off with the Gengar because what I ended up doing is just like saying like, oh, hey, I can protect on the taunt and then just disable it. And look, what do you have to stop me? I hope you don't have Roar. And then they had Roar.
Taunt and Roar?
So that was a thing. They had Taunt and Roar. Freaking
I
madman.
respect it.
I think they were fake out Taunt, Roar, Flare Blitz. And I'm like, why are you not running Parting Shot? Not Parting Shot, but why are you not running like U-Turn? Because I was like standard back then.
Speaking of all of these moves that are like, kind of nerfed by Dynamax now that they ignore a whole lot of niche effects that like no one's really using or anything like that. I've got to ask the question.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Leonard, what do you think about Dynamax?
Ooh, that is a good question. So,
It's the thesis of the podcast.
Yeah.
I've got some experience playing doubles without Dynamax, not just in the sense of series, what was it, 10 that we didn't have it. With the 1 restricted. That format was terrible because of the 1 restricted. All the 1 restricted formats were terrible. But I've played quite a bit of doubles OU, where Dynamax has been banned for the majority of its lifespan. And I think that they just require different skill sets. I don't think Dynamax is unhealthy or broken because you can also Dynamax your own Mon. I think it's less.
He said it. He said the thing. He said it. Thank God.
Stop.
Dynamax is also checked just inherently by Zacian in this format. I think that's important. One of the things, if I do think it is very strong though. If I were to nerf Dynamax, I would make it so its items don't work while you're Dynamaxed. That would
oh my
be
god,
big
weakness
thing.
policy.
Yeah, you'd have to activate the weakness policy before you max.
Rest
That'd be interesting, actually.
Actually, that'd be really cool. I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, so I think that would be an improvement to Dynamax, and then potentially removing some of the like egregious protection effects that it has. I think the doubled HP is fine. I don't have any problem with that. Doubles OU experimented a little bit with 1.5 times Dynamax, and that was actually a lot worse because then your Dynamax Mon couldn't take a hit from their Dynamax Mon, and so that was actually a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
So it was like Rocket Tag.
So I don't mind the extra bulk. The extra bulk is fine. I think Max Airstream should have been one of the reduced power moves, like how Max Knuckle and Ooze are. But beyond that, I don't typically tend to like focus on like, oh wow, this thing sucks, because I'm gonna play VGC no matter what. So for me, I'm just gonna play it, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna deal with it rather than complain about it because it's not gonna go away. And then it did go away for one format, and then that format unfortunately sucked.
I kind of liked Series 10. I liked how fat it got.
Yeah.
It was.
I like the fact that Rocky Helmet land. Well, that was the worst
I'm right there
part.
with you. I think just having 1 restricted rather than 2 just felt way off.
Because it was more matchup. It was more
sense.
matchup dependent, which
Yeah,
kind of
that's
sucked. But I just enjoyed the fact that Rocky Helmet Lando was standard for a season.
That was funny.
That was hilarious.
So TLDR, you're my favorite podcast host here because you said Dynamax is incredibly based and balanced, and you never want to change anything about
That's
it.
not.
Yeah,
That's not what he.
agree, man. I appreciate
That's
it.
not what he said.
No, you got it. You got it right. He's right. He's right.
That's not what he said.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I agree for the most part. Like, I'm not really the biggest fan of Dynamax, but like, I'm gonna be playing VGC anyway, so I may as well deal with it. And at least now we have like a somewhat alright Dynamax format now with Series 12.
Yeah.
You know, because of the double restricted and stuff, it's a little bit less matchup dependent and a little bit more fun and creative in terms of team building. So
for me, Dynamax is like broccoli. It's like, oh god, I hate this, and then I keep eating
broccoli. I love broccoli.
Well, I like cooked broccoli, like raw broccoli with like hummus. Yeah, that slaps. But just regular broccoli by itself with like no preparation.
Well, I think if you just eat most vegetables just straight up raw.
I'm sorry. Have you ever had a cucumber?
I have not bitten into a raw cucumber, no.
You've never bitten into a raw cucumber?
I have not.
Ash, it's basically just a water bottle.
Wait. What do you... Okay, first of all, what do you mean by
it's
raw
fiber
cucumber?
water.
Who's out here cooking cucumbers?
I guess fair enough, yeah.
I think I've seen cooked cucumber. I think when you cook a cucumber, it becomes a zucchini. No.
No, those are different things, though.
Yeah,
two different...
There you go.
When a mouse leaves its home and enters the streets, it becomes a rat. I am a biologist.
What's your favorite vegetable, Leonard?
I hate that.
Based.
No.
Terrible.
Pokemon player. Oh yeah, fruit's amazing.
We're all Pokemon players. What are you talking about?
I don't know, but it just seems like a Pokemon player thing to go, I don't like vegetables.
We're all 5, it's okay.
If you know what, if melee players don't shower, Pokemon players don't eat vegetables. That's ours.
Is that our staple now?
That's our stigma and stereotype.
So cool.
Everyone come to your next local with a big bunch of broccoli and just wave it in front of your opponents. Unless they're allergic, in which case you will be arrested.
I do eat my vegetables. That's why I'm built like STAKATAKA IRL.
It's true.
Oh, he said it.
Brick shit house.
He said the thing.
Speaking of, yeah.
So Leonard, it's a bit of a tradition of sorts. It's a bit cringe, but we just kept it rolling. When STAKATAKA is mentioned, that's generally whenever we end off the podcast. It's a bit strange.
It's the brick wall that signals the end of the road.
To be fair, we did start this. We started this podcast in Series 10, and there was like a joke going around that STAKATAKA is the second restricted.
The second restricted, yeah.
So
that mod has always been bad. I've tried to make it work so much. It's always
Thank
bad. It doesn't beat Xerneas.
Thank you.
It doesn't beat Xerneas.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
We can't end the podcast with a hot take like that.
No, I've never been up for
wait a minute.
I thought I was insane. Thank you.
No, this is okay. This is the reason why is because here's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have Xerneas, and then I have either my Fake Out Mon or my Amoonguss. All right, so I'm going to Fake Out the STAKATAKA, then Geomancy. Then I'm going to Protect and switch to my other guy. If you're not Safety Goggles, you can't get around this. And if you are Safety Goggles, congratulations. Now you can't live a whole bunch of other hits. Then, okay, assume it's double Fake Out, which was pretty common with most Xerneas teams. So I'm going to Fake Out your STAKATAKA. Then Moonblast it, then I'm gonna Protect and switch again. It doesn't beat it unless you like hard read them. You have to make a hard read in order to get it. And even then, sometimes Gyro Ball won't kill because you might like to run a lot of special defense on your STAKATAKA.
Yes.
And then if it's intimidated, then it won't kill a both Xerneas. And so it's like,
I mean, I haven't necessarily considered STAKATAKA the Xerneas counter on most teams as much as it is a source of pressure where all of a sudden the Xerneas player has to micromanage a lot more than you do.
Nah, that mon
Thank
is
you.
awful. Yeah, it never works. Never works.
Okay.
Speaking
anyway,
of people who are awful,
we call our patrons STAKATAKAs. So whoops.
Whoops.
Wow.
Speaking of people that Leonard hates.
Yeah.
That's funny as hell.
I guess we're taking this part of the podcast to thank our Patreons. Woo! A specific shout out to Plumber, Professor Germs, and Crazy Carlton for supporting us with our STAKATAKA tiers, and everyone else who has donated or supporting us. I don't know. For the Patreon, thank you.
Thank you
for helping us out. You help us get
Leonard,
content out.
apologize. No! Apologize to them now.
If you give me their names, I'll read them off.
Yeah, and then say give us more money after you're
Exactly.
Hold on, I'm gonna put it in chat
They
now.
learned more Pokemon mechanics in this episode than they had playing the game.
I'm putting them in chat.
Oh my
Alright.
god.
And
Thank you.
Say I'm
No!
sorry instead of
Wait.
thank you.
Who have donated to this podcast. You are help making this possible. With your donations, we have the opportunity to hire more guests to come on stream, like myself, who was paid oodles of money to come on here.
Yes.
So true.
So we thank Professor Germs, Plumber, Crazy Carlton, My Butteth.
Dude!
Okay. I don't think
Yo, that's a new one. Yo, shout out to the fourth one.
wait, Markers, why would you do that to him?
That's so fire.
I'm so sorry. We can't control him. He's a demon.
I got him.
Is
I
there
did
anything
it.
else? Is there anything else you'd want to plug, by the way, before we head out?
anything else I want to plug? Yeah, if you want to learn more about mechanics research, I highly, highly recommend reading the Smoke on Battle Mechanics research thread. New research, whenever you see stuff posted there, is going to be informative, unless you've got people posting Showdown replays and saying, why doesn't it work this way? And then it's like, stop. Go somewhere else.
Read the thread.
But if you have people who are actually doing research, you can learn a ton. You're just like reading through it, you're gonna find a treasure trove of details. Mechanics information is almost always going to be easier to convey with video, but it's almost always going to be easier to share via text, because having to record every interaction can be quite tedious.
Yeah,
Just typing it out is a lot faster. So I would strongly recommend that if you're interested in reading more. You can find that link in almost all my YouTube videos that I post that are mechanics related. You'll find a link to that thread in the description of those videos. If you'd also like, you can check out my YouTube channel. I do upload mechanics related content, though not so much more recently. I've been uploading archives of Twitch streams where I've been doing live research. So those aren't, in my opinion, as engaging as the more dedicated Mechanics Mondays that I used to create, but they are a lot easier to create, so that's why I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you'd like, I also have a Twitter, twitter.com/DaWoblefet. My YouTube is youtube.com/DaWoblefet, by the way. I'm DaWoblefet on all platforms. And
Nice.
you can follow me there. I try to tweet some funny things and usually some cool stuff too. So if you're interested in that sort of material, you can check me out.
No worries.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely go
put
hit 'em
that.
up.
We'll put that
Thank
all in the description of this video. And audio listeners, I guess, just check out the VOD. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, and audio listeners,
Wow.
figure it out.
Audio listeners cope. Yeah, how about that?
Damn.
Okay.
But,
well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. It was good hearing all your stories and everything.
Quite fun.
But yeah, thank you all for watching or listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Get into it. Okay.